Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Generation X Nation. All right, y'all, we about to do this real quick wrap up, the Real Housewives of Atlanta. All right. But before we get started, as always, thank you to all my subscribers. Anybody who leaves a comment, likes, and share, please like and share my channel. I definitely appreciate it. As always, my disclaimer, everything on my channel is alleged in my opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Alleged in my opinion and for entertainment purposes only. All commentary is done week to week based on the episode that airs and the understanding that some scenes are edited out. Now, I watched the Peacock version, so I don't think they edited too much out over there. But again, we know that some things are edited out, and that doesn't give us the full content of the story, but we do our best to give opinions because that's all we do here is give our opinions. Please believe. I don't have a dog in this fight. Again, it's all alleged, in my opinion. Real Housewives of Atlanta Reunion Part 1 was pretty much what we expected. A lot of back and forth with Kelly, K. Michelle, Angela, and Portia. And then Drew would get in there every now and then. Phaedra kind of pulled to the back, tried to be the voice of reason. Shamia seemed like she wanted to be quiet, didn't want to get into too much, but she made her facial expressions, and you knew she was, when something happened in the scene she didn't agree with. As always, that camera zoomed right over there to Shamia. Pinky was real quiet. She did announce her new baby bump. Congratulations to her, but you know somebody else had already spilled the beans prior to it coming out. But anyway, congratulations to you, Pinky. So let's get started. They started coming in, they're arriving in their vehicles. Andy's going by the dressing room. And let me tell you something. Andy does love him some Portia. He went right in that dressing room, started dancing with Portia about going naked, and they're just dancing and singing and laughing together. I don't care how y'all try to sabotage Portia. Portia's going to have to pull a Kenya move to get kicked off that show. She's going to be there as long as Andy wants her there. Okay? Let me get something to drink. I'm a little thirsty. So the ladies all come out. They're sitting out on the couch. Everybody's walking out in their nice outfits and gowns, looking really pretty. I think everybody looked good. I guess the assignment was Scotland, like he said. So even though the colors didn't make sense to us in a way, but it did make sense based on the theme that they were trying to capture. We'll just leave it at that. Everybody sits down, and then immediately Andy starts making his little comments to the girls. You know how he throws shade by making a comment about something they'd said or done in the season. He mentioned something to Drew, and she looks good, and everything. And Drew, says she got a new body, and thank God nothing's leaking. Now, Drew, you knew that was a shade to K. Michelle, and I thought that was underhanded because we know, regardless of how you feel about Kay or how you like Kay or don't like Kay, at the end of the day, you know that girl is going through a lot of surgeries to get her body fixed correctly. And it has to be very emotional for her. So that was a really low blow by you saying it, in my opinion. Again, in my opinion. However, her and Kay go back and forth, so maybe somewhere along the line people would think it's warranted. But at that moment, starting out, it didn't need to be said. Andy said something about happy gay pride to Portia, and she was like, okay, I can accept yours. Basically, you're saying it in a way that's acceptable. Like, and I guess that was a shade because we know Shamia had said something like that online. So it is what it is. They all just came out already on 10. Andy talking about plots and plans and all of this stuff. Um, they did show a scene that was cut out with Phaedra talking to Congressman Jasmine Crockett. She was talking about running for some type of public office. And I'm like, Phaedra, are you running for office because Dr. Heavenly tried it? Because her and Dr. Heavenly weren't the best of friends when they were on that show. Maybe she's trying to prove to Dr. Heavenly, just you didn't get elected, but maybe I'm electable. I don't know, because all of a sudden they all getting into politics, reality TV stars. But hey, ain't nothing wrong with it, because we got one running the White House. But I'll digress. All right. And then after that, Andy started, the conversations. They brought up the whole Drew and Black thing. That was the first thing they went back and forth with. Drew was telling everybody how she likes Black. Phaedra thought she was in love with Black. They all think Black was a great guy. Of course, Kay Michelle disagreed because she said he's a criminal. He don't, you should be having him around your kids. He ain't gonna lead them nowhere but to jail. And she accused Black of scamming and scheming and taking advantage of women and their money. Shamia did ask Drew, did she give Black any money? And she said no. And then K. Michelle said Black was on the run living in Thailand. Child, I don't know. But what it seems like to me, that is a relationship that Drew should avoid. Now, Drew said, hey, I'm fresh out of my divorce. I guess the divorce is just happening at this moment. And she's, don't mind dating. But I felt like, Drew, if you are fresh out of your divorce and you're just having conversations with Black, you don't need to get involved with anybody until you get everything settled with your children and your housing and all of that. Because apparently you had some kind of gag order where you couldn't talk about the custody issue. But Phaedra did bring up the fact that, your husband, your ex-husband is the primary custody person, and you do, I guess, pay child support to him. If Black is somebody you're interested in, Drew, and we've seen how the Ralph thing turned out, you don't pick men very well. So I would suggest, like K. Michelle is saying, pull back. Pull back from Black. He's in the scandal. According to K. Michelle, he lives in Thailand and he's a PayPal rich dude. Just pull back from that and find you somebody who's legitimate and is not trying to ride off your cloud or whatever. And I know they say he's rich, but according to K. Michelle, he got his money in ways that unconventional. So considering Ralph, when we first met him, Drew, we knew something was up with him, even though you couldn't see it. You was all boogie out in love with Ralph. And we see the same thing in this Black guy, even though we don't know him. So you might want to stop dating for a while and just work on your music and getting your life together and spending that time with your children. Again, they're going back and forth, arguing. And then Drew brings out this prop that they use on movies where they say cut this, when they're cutting the scene out. And that's what Drew does. She takes it, hits the word cut. I'm like, Drew, again, we left it alone. So Andy said, okay, give Drew a round of applause because everybody's like, oh, this is so fake. It just not hit the way it did. And then he said, give her a round of applause. I guess they figured Drew was trying to insinuate that K. Michelle was just acting and doing too much. They were saying Drew was acting and doing too much. At the end of the day, the scene ended and then they went on. Drew also mentioned something about carrying negative narratives on the blogs. We are a sisterhood, and we should not be letting the blogs kind of control what's going on the show. And then that's when they called Kelly called her out. She said, "Well, if you're using that, you went on the blog trying to show everybody my restaurant was closed down." And then she said, "That's because you said something to me." I don't know where the Kelly, the Drew, and the K Michelle issues start, and we still can't figure it out because all they doing is talking back and forth, and arguing with each other for what? Kelly then starts telling Drew, you looks like you accusing her of looking like Portia and wanting to be Portia, and then attempting to body shame because you mentioned the word leak and you know what K Michelle is going through. All of y'all were body shaming each other, in my opinion. Okay, Angela had said something, and Shamir spoke up about Angela saying something about BBL. Angela said, "I didn't say that. I said, look at your behind. I never said." She said, "Look at your behind, you be," or something to that effect. But she said, "I never mentioned the BBL." All of y'all have had work done, and everybody is on that couch and said they have had work done, and that's true. The audience can tell y'all had something done. I'm not for sure with Pinky. I believe Pinky hasn't had much done. But each and every one of y'all, I don't care if it was Botox, y'all done had something done to yourselves. So why are y'all body shaming each other? I just don't get it. Now, Kelly, in her true lion fashion, says, I have never had any surgeries. All I had was my boobs done. So Portia go on to say, but look, Drew had children. She did this, she did that, and that's why she had this done. It looks good. And then Kelly said, well, I had 4 children. And then I had my body done after that. So you said you didn't have your body done. All you did was your boobs. And then you turned around and said, after breastfeeding 4 children, I had my body done. You see how fast Kelly lies? She don't even remember she said 10 seconds earlier she never had her body done, just her boobs. And then she turned around when Portia spoke up about Drew having children. She said, I had 4 children, I breastfeeded 4 children, and then I had my body done. So which is it? Which is it? I just don't get that. So then Andy asked a question about some favorite moments on the show. Everybody agreed the Angela and Pinky argument was the favorite moment. And they said it was iconic when Pinky got up and sat back down. I thought it was a great argument too, because like I said, they went back and forth. They argued so much that they tired each other out and just said, girl, I'm tired of arguing. Let's just drink and eat and have a good time. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. But the one thing I noticed doing this reunion is they would argue and go back and forth, and then they would laugh and smile together. And I thought that was cool too. And that's what we kind of like. We don't like just forever being enemies. So I don't think Portia and Shamia will ever reconcile, but there's just that glimmer of hope. Maybe they will. Um, Also, they talked about Portia's relationship with Sway, and of course, everybody was kind of shocked. K Michelle did mention that she wanted Portia to be with Mike. She thought they were going to be together and have a baby. And Portia said, "Hey, I was never going to have no baby, so you pretty much knew that relationship wasn't going to last." So I'm like, well, if that was the case, Portia, why were you just wheeling that man along, or was it a storyline? And then the big bomb dropped because Portia and Phaedra both admitted they both dated Mike. And then Andy was a little pissed off because he's like, wait a minute. Why did this happen on camera? Oh, we talked about it off camera. Andy's right. Y'all should have discussed that on camera. Because it's amazing how Drew and K Michelle was discussing on camera. They knew the same dude. And then how Drew, oh no, I'm sorry, K Michelle and Portia was going back on camera because Portia dated allegedly somebody she dated with, she used to date, but Phaedra and Portia never told anybody they dated the same guy. So every guy uh they dated at some point try to get with Portia. That's all I'm saying. Andy did ask Shamia to put everything aside. How are you feeling about Portia and Sway? And she said she's happy for Portia and she's happy to see that Portia's happy. And I think Portia willingly accepted that. Then they went on to talk about Drew was telling them that Portia is living her life. Then they tried to accuse Drew of maybe wanting to date a female. And then they tried to accuse Drew of trying to be exactly like Portia. And then that's when Kelly chimes in. And she started going back and forth with Drew, telling Drew that she wants to be, she wants to be like Portia. And, she basically is calling Drew's Portia's puppet. But prior to that, K Michelle did say something about, I don't have an issue with Drew. I like Drew. I wanted her music to go far. I wanted her to see her do things in the music industry. And then Drew responded real quick about talking to K Michelle about, I guess, well, I don't, she didn't receive it. She was kind of throwing some jabs back at her, like, well, that's not the way I felt. I mean, the way you came to me. I'm like, Drew, just take the apology that Kay's give you and move on. It seemed like it doesn't matter how Kay comes to Drew. Drew is going to find a reason to not accept any apology that Kay Michelle tries to drum up. And I don't understand that because you're complaining about Kay Michelle doesn't like you for any reason. And then when Kay Michelle tries to give you some props about your music and she hopes you do good because she know how it is in the music industry, how females struggle, and then you still throw shade there. So I'm with Kay Michelle. It doesn't make any sense to me. Um, Drew is brand new. I love she's standing on her own, and I love she's standing with the she can box with the girls without help from anybody else. But I think she's kind of misses the mark sometime when they try to resolve and close the issue and make it dead. So when K Michelle is telling you, I don't have a problem with Drew, and I'm in the music industry, and I want her to do good, and I understand how hard it is as a female. And Drew, when you come back and just saying thank you, I received that, you want to say, well, that's not the way I took it, or you said it in this way. It's like it makes her not even want to come and try to be reasonable with you because you're not going to ever be reasonable with her. Now, as this is going on, they talked about the custody thing, and then Andy said, hey, how do you feel about Dennis helping Ralph in a custody battle? And basically, Portia basically told him they can kiss her behind or whatever. She said, I didn't, she said basically Ralph had to post it as though I give Dennis a hard time trying to visit his child. And she did not appreciate that. Then Kelly jumps in and starts going off on Portia about living in Simon's house. Kelly, why do you keep bringing up Simon? This is what I'm not understanding. And I'm going to say this because I have not heard any of these ladies do this whole season. Kelly has used Simon's name several times when dealing with Portia. You're paying Simon's bills. You living in Simon's house. You know what I'm saying? Simon this. Why'd you steal that lady's husband? I have not once heard Portia mention anything about Kelly's ex-husband. Not one time. Have I ever heard Portia say anything about that dude that Kelly was married to, or the one that was that's in jail? She's never brought up his name, his say anything about his looks or anything. And she goes to say, "Well, I sold my house," and then Portia said, "Because you had to." And she said, "Do you not understand a court order? A court order awarded me the house. And I've been in this house for almost 2 years, keeping the bills up. I'm doing good. You had to sell your house and move into Shamia's house." And she's like, "Let's be clear. I was only there for 2 days until I got my house ready." And then Angela said, "Your house, your name ain't on the deed." So basically, they're saying you're renting the house. So if that's true, Kelly, and you're renting a house, why are you talking about going Portia paying the bills in a house that she has been awarded in a court? Okay? I'm not understanding that. Why do you keep coming after other people's finances when you know your finances is jacked up? So then she changed over to Angela, and her and Angela are going back and forth. And then Angela says, "Pay Gary his money." She told Angela, "Sell a house, sell a house." Angela said, "I ain't got to sell a house. I live in a $2 million house. You pay Gary his money back." And everybody's, "Look, who is Gary?" Well, apparently is a guy that sued her. And the documents are online. There's a lot of social media YouTubers and bloggers, whatever, who actually have the court documents posted. And yes, she was sued by a guy named Gary, and I think it was for 60 some $1,000 and this and that. And he won. Now, if she paid him, I don't know. But she definitely gonna have a lien against her. So, Kelly, until you get your own finances together, please stop talking about other people's finances, because it's just not a good look. You know, Portia and K. Michelle and Andy said Mike was in love with Portia. They went back and they showed all these different videos of Portia and her different relationships with different people. And her mama was saying something about he ain't the one, he ain't the one, each time they showed it. Um, Portia was very emotional because her mom is happy for her and has accepted her with Sway and said she would even be there if she wanted to get married. I definitely thought that was really cool. Then Portia and K. Michelle go back and forth, and they were talking about the interview that Portia did on Carlos King. She felt that Portia kind of said some stuff about her because Carlos King was leading her through the interview. Portia was like, "I'm not sure what you're talking about." And she said, "Yes, he was leading you down the road to say some negative stuff about me." I get exactly what K. Michelle was saying. But I also get what Portia and Andy was trying to tell K. Michelle. K. Michelle did admit she is new to this experience. She doesn't understand. She's been on reality TV, but I guess not in this fashion, not with a group of women that she has to bond with. They argue and fight every day, but then they also come together and support each other. Um, I guess that kind of made sense, and I've been saying that the whole season. She has to learn how to be friends in a girl group because every girl group she's ever been in apparently has I guess turned their back on her or treated her badly. So the trust factor is gone. So she's learning how to do that. The ladies kind of accused K Michelle of picking a team with the newbies, and K Michelle, I don't think she really picked a team. I guess she felt comfortable over there, but I think somewhere deep down inside I can see it through that screen. My spirit tells me K Michelle really does like Portia, and I think eventually they're going to have a relationship. I think Portia and K Michelle relationship is more like Portia and Kenya's relationship was when Kenya first got there, constantly bumping heads and fighting, and then they end up being best of friends. So I think if they just keep trying, they're gonna see each other for who they really are. And I think they'll realize that they're better together than apart fighting. Now that may mess the little newbie vibe up because Kelly wants people. Kelly wants the team. I don't know. It just gives me this strange vision that Kelly wants them to constantly stay separated. She wants that team newbies versus the team OG thing. She just wants that. Because anytime K Michelle or one of the other ladies try to come to some type of resolve with the couch on the other side, Kelly got to chime in and say something. And I think she likes to keep it going. I think Kelly is fun and hilarious. And like I said, I just did a video on Kelly. I like Kelly. I think she's hilarious. I think she's good for the show, but I think she got to know when to dial it back too. And I think the same with Shamia. She's good for the show, but they both got to learn how to dial it back. K Michelle is good for the show. The only thing with K Michelle is we like to see you, you know, how you was today, a little fiery, but like Andy and Portia them saying, so basically what you were doing, instead of going into confessionals, you was tweeting it. And K Michelle's like, that's what I'm used to doing. So when I was on other shows, stuff would happen. I would just go tweet, or when I have things on my mind, I would just tweet it. She didn't realize that I could have just went to a confessional and said the same thing. And that's what she should have been doing. And Andy coached her along because I think Andy likes K Michelle too. I think Andy is on the fence with Kelly and Shamia, but I definitely believe that he likes K Michelle. So she has a little bit more time to be there. Now, K Michelle also mentioned um her husband, Dr. Caston, she basically said, "Hey, he has my permission, I guess, to do things if he needs to. I've done things to him. She's done things to him, and he has done things to her. But she said you have to understand she's been through a lot of medical issues and surgeries and may not been there full time to, I guess, satisfy his needs, and that's why she's okay with him when he did go out and do certain things." Which is kind of understandable because she said she had a lot of different surgeries and she may not have been there for him like she should have been, but she's not going to throw away all these years in relationship they had together for a couple of pokes. That's what she's saying. She also got into it with Portia at one point and told Portia to keep her glory hole. Keep her glory hole shut. I don't know. It's just crazy. Um, then after that, the ladies were having this conversation about, you know, friend groups and outside noise. And I think that is the biggest issue they have on the show this season was outside noise. K Michelle was saying that she believed outside noise on Shamia's side was telling her to, not be friends with her. Portia and the rest of them was believing that a lot of them was getting outside noise telling them about the girls on the cast, and that gave them preconceived notions on whether they want to be friends with them or not. And I will say this, I believe a lot of that does happen because as we can see, Angela was very quiet during that segment because she was probably one of the biggest offenders of outside noise. Because as you can see, she was playing CSI Angela and getting dirt on everybody and waiting to throw it. Just like she mentioned Gary. We ain't heard nobody Gary name all season. We heard George. But we ain't heard Gary name all season. She come to reunion. She talking about a lawsuit with Gary. Angela, are you just sitting there on the computer looking up stuff on Kelly? Looking up shade? Because shade should be like a natural thing. Um, I'm confused why you would bring that up and why you know about that. It's one thing if it's just out there for everybody to know, but it seemed like to me you did go research that lawsuit on Kelly, if it's an old lawsuit. So I think the biggest thing that they have going on is they have to learn to trust each other, come to each other when something is wrong, have a conversation, and stop letting outside voices tell them what to do. I think K Michelle and Drew got to figure out what the real issue is there. Maybe next week we'll see, or they'll get down to the nitty gritty, but we're just seeing the surface level right now. I think K Michelle really wants to be friends with Portia, and I hope they get that friendship going. And I understand exactly what Phaedra was saying about she believes K Michelle has some type of form of PTSD. Again, allegedly, I'm not a doctor, and it makes sense. She says she's never been around these group of dynamic women who have big personalities on this big platform. This is very different for her, so she just didn't know how to handle it, and that made a lot of sense, Kay. And going forward, next season, say the stuff in the confessionals, not on Twitter. Okay, Angela, just stop digging up dirt on everybody and just do Angela. We liked you the way you came in the first season. If something falls in your lap, that's different. But don't be out there, like I Spy or Professor Griff or somebody. Just don't do that, Angela. It's just not a good look. And you could lose the audience real as fast as you gather them. You can definitely lose them. Be cool. Just keep selling them Fangela fans and keep being exactly who you are because we like you. And you do have a story with your daughter. Focus on that, okay? Portia gonna be Portia, Phaedra gonna be Phaedra. We'll see what happens next week. Kelly, again, Kelly is very, very. Kelly is one of these people you kind of love to hate. She gives me that kind of like a Kenya vibe type thing because as much as she get on our last freaking nerves, she's funny to me. Because she will sit there and tell you one line one in 1 minute and another lie the next minute, and she will stand 10 toes down on them lies that come out of her mouth. So I got to give Kelly her props. She gonna hold herself. She gonna hold those lies down. She gonna lie to you, look you dead in the face, and she gonna look like she telling you the truth, and she gonna believe she gonna be loud and wrong, and she don't care, because that's who she is. Shamia is the one that needs to be molded. Shamia is the quintessential housewife, but she got to be molded correctly. So what I want Shamia to do during this off season is go ahead to the Housewives Academy of Kenya Moore, Candy Burris, and anybody else you can find, Eva Marcel, anybody you can find down there in Atlanta, and get some play-by-play instructions on what makes a good housewife. Come back a little different next season, because it's going to be hard to film with Portia and you guys not speaking, and we don't know what's going to happen during this break. It could get worse, it could get better. But as you can see, even on the reunion stage, they were barely talking to each other, but they were cordial enough to not, go back and forth or disrespect Andy. But we don't know what's going to happen doing filming because Andy ain't there to control it. Because at one point he had to get off the couch and click the doggone cut scene because they were just going back and forth and talking over him. Shamia, I think you are the weakest link in the group. I hate to say it. As much as people talked about Pinky and her thing, Pinky has grown on me. She's just enough reason. She's just enough voice of reason. Phaedra is just enough voice of reason. Get a little messy, but they try to figure out what the problem is. The issue I have with Shamia is that your whole premise is your Portia back and forth argument. I don't like that. And then you and Kelly basically are arguing with the same people every time you sit down. Angela, Drew, Portia. Angela, Drew, Portia. And it's getting draining. And I know Drew pokes the bear sometime because she does do some comments. Drew, pull back on them comments. Because it is starting to see like you are poking the bear just a little bit yourself too. But overall, it was a great reunion. I mean, part one, I just, they're just scratching the surface right now. But for sure, I think when this is all said and done, Shamia, go down there, talk to your best girl, Candy. Go down there and find you, Kenya, have some lunch with them, and then have a quick conversation of how to maneuver this housewife life. Because we want to see you some more, Shamia, but what you're giving right now is not going to make people, want to see you on the show. I don't want to see you off the show. Like I say, if you got the opportunity, take it. Kelly's just funny to me. I don't know what it is about Kelly. I don't know if it's the fact that we just like her lies, but maybe she gives us a little bit more of the Mia vibe or Stacey Rush or whatever. But it's just something about her and them lies that is entertaining. Okay? Because you ain't gonna never make me believe Kelly landed a helicopter in her front yard to pick her up from dinner. I ain't believing that and shut down the streets and have police escorts. I'm not believing that, Kelly. I'm gonna need a video of that because at the end of the day, everything's documented. And if that happened, you would have video footage. You would have it on your Instagram page or something. You would have recorded it through your phone, and we see none of that on your page. So I doubt that really happened. But it made for a good story. And with that being said, one other thing I'm going to talk about. Apparently, Arionne Curry is making her television debut on LAMH Huntsville. I'm shocked. I'm actually not shocked. I knew Arionne was coming on that show last season. You couldn't keep bringing Martell there to these trips and stuff by himself. Now, will the ladies accept her? I don't know. Will she make for good TV? I don't know. But I can guarantee you she's the happiest woman in the world right now because she's on that TV show with her boy Martell. Now, is that going to bring the ratings up or down? That is a 50-50 chance that OWN Network took and that Carlos took. We're going to see how the viewers actually respond. Now, there's a lot of people out here who's saying, I ain't watching it if she on there. But you best to believe they're going to be watching in the background because everybody's going to want to see how she is and how she acts. Okay? I personally will be watching. I've always felt like at this point, he's been divorced from his ex-wife for 6 years. He has to move on at some point in a new relationship. I don't want to see her interacting with his children. That would probably give me cringe. I don't want, I mean, it's okay if she interact with the child she has with him, but don't bring his other kids on there. That would give me cringe. I don't want to see that. Um, and I want to see if he really is serious. I don't know. It could just be a business deal. But I think the clues were already there because one, Arionne had wiped her social media clean, and y'all know that ain't her. Two, Arionne has stopped coming on social media and doing interviews and talking about the show. So I think she was trying to get a reset to prepare us for a whole new version of herself walking in. Because the way we accepted Destiny the second time around was totally different when she first was on the show. And I think Arionne's hoping she'll get that same response and that same welcome. Like, okay, they accepted Destiny and they used to not like her. I think enough time has passed. And if I come in here the right way, they'll see that I'm a good person and they'll like me. I don't know because Arionne, you just left too much evidence back on the blogs and social media, your attitude, your disposition, the interviews, the stuff you were saying about that lady, her kids. It's going to be hard for you to draw the audience into you. But Martell has always said, record my real life. So this is giving him us his real life. So I guess that's something we would just have to accept for now. I will say that is a bold move from Carlos King and his entertainment company, Kingdom Reign. Bold move to bring Ariana on. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with rolling the dice and taking a chance on yourself. Everybody take chances. Either it's going to be a hit or it's going to be a big a failure. We don't know until it airs. But everybody's talking about it, including myself. So that means something. Kudos to you, Ariane. Now I know all the people who don't exactly like the ex-cast member, his ex-wife. Y'all going to be jumping for joy all over social media, posting videos, happy and all that stuff. That's cool too if that's how you feel. I don't feel no ways tired either way. I just like the show. The only thing I'm disappointed in on the show is how Letitia Scott showed up. I just thought that she would do better. And the fact that I ended up liking Destiny last season more than I liked her said a lot. So we need a new person on there. Apparently they got rid of Trish and Ken. Thank you, because they broke up 1 and 2. They brought nothing. Trish lied all the time, and Ken didn't know what he wanted to do. But I think Ken and Twan and Will can actually do a little spinoff. Them three clowns. Um, I would love to see them on the spinoff trying to date women. Because they all three of them got some different philosophies. It would be really cute to see them on some type of dating show, even if it's just a one-time show for the love of whoever. Because I think those three are definitely three crazy. And apparently Twan is broke up with Kayla because I've seen him on social media with Will acting like he's single and free. So that should be a storyline if Kayla and Twan broke up. Maybe they'll talk about that. Who knows? Martell them still arguing. Apparently, Marceau then lost the house. I hate to hear that. Yeah, this is gonna be a good season. It starts next month, and I can't wait. Less than 30 days away, we will be able to see Love and Marriage Huntsville and the debut of Arionne Curry. Ain't that some stuff? Anyway, this is Gen X Nation, and as always, you guys go out, have a great rest of your day. You guys be safe out there and peace. Like and subscribe, and I'm out.